Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back. We have taken a bit of a hiatus, so for the three of you that were listening before, it might just be two of you now. But we did take a bit of a break. We got crazy busy with work. Life happens. Life was lifing, but we're back. For those of you that don't remember or are just tuning in for the very first time, my name is Amit Majithia, and I am your co-host for Baap.
And my name is Neel Amin. I'm also your co-host.
And today we've actually got another guest with us. So last time we had RJ, Neil's wife, and I can confirm that a month later she still is as well. We had RJ for the last episode. We hope you enjoyed that or any other episode you may have listened to before this. If you're tuning in for the first time, don't worry, there's no continuity with these. But we've also got another guest here today. We've got Prinjal.
Hi, my name is
Woo!
Prinjal Majithia. I'm actually Amit's cousin, and I'm excited to be here.
We're excited to have you.
Appreciate you coming on.
Thank you for
Yeah.
having me.
Of course. It's really cool to always have different people on the podcast, different voices to gain those different perspectives. I feel like even though we sometimes circle around similar life experiences, we all feel it differently, we all see it differently, we all experience it differently. So maybe a lot of us have dealt with grief or we've dealt with family issues or any of the things that we do talk about, but it looks different for all of us. So the more voices we bring on, the objective being to just let everyone know that it's okay that we all go through it and it can look different for all of us. But the main objective, of course, is to talk about it and deal with it any way you can. That being said, we are officially on episode 5, technically episode 6, since episode 2 was a two-parter. But this episode is stuff people said that made it worse. And the it in this portion of the conversation, or even in just this episode, can be anything. It could be something you're going through, have gone through, something that's recurring for you. But the theme of it is that when you took that to people you cared about or felt cared from, or someone that was maybe older than you that you thought you could gain some insight from, and what they said maybe just wasn't what you expected. And to be completely transparent, it wasn't great. It wasn't something that helped you in the moment. It actually made it worse. So stuff people said that made it worse. And I think I'll kind of kick things off. And I'm going to go a different route today. I feel like the last 4, 5 episodes, whatever you want to count it as, I'm just going to do it 4 episodes and count this as episode 5 because I'm just going to keep doing this over and over again. Everyone's going to get confused. But for the last 4 episodes, I think the experiences I drew upon were very, very tied to my dad. And rightfully so. That was a huge impact in my life, changed a lot for me. But I think in this case, I'm going to change it. I'm going to draw upon an experience. I know, plot
Totally
twist.
kidding.
I feel, well, see, the thing is, sometimes I sit there and I think about it, and I'm just like, I talk about, obviously, with the podcast, I've been talking about dad a lot. And I felt like I have never talked about him as much as I have over the last few months with the podcast. I never talked about him that much. So at times I'm just like, shit, am I like truly defined by this one life experience? And then I sit there and I'm like, no, there's a lot more to it. There's a lot more to my story than that one chapter.
Neurali's not going to be able to say daddy issues anymore. So that's kind of what you're going
right
for
after
here,
this
man.
episode.
I know,
Yeah,
right?
I
She's
know.
going to be like, wait a minute.
Yeah, I might be single here real soon. So I think an experience I'm going to draw upon is shortly after dad passed away. I think what family tended to do, what friends tend to do, is of course they wanted to show you support. So a little bit after he passed away in 2013, 3 years later, we had, for those 3 years, scraping and clawing through life financially, emotionally, physically, in different ways. We then had my mom's side of the family sort of immigrate over to America. And we're talking, just to give you guys an idea, yes, family is beautiful, but when you have about 18 of us living under one roof, it wasn't so damn beautiful, you know. It was cramped. It was tough. It was generational gaps now on top of cultural gaps on top of just not enough gaps in the house, frankly, physically. Um, and I think one thing that I struggled with during that time period was we had three complete families move into the home. And what I mean by that, what I mean by the word complete is no parent was missing. No child was missing. Everyone just sort of moved here. So one thing that I struggled with during that time period is how to carve out time for myself, how to create boundaries, right? Because at that time it was like their needs were super important. They were just adjusting to the world around them in a brand new country. And it felt weird to say, hey, I need time away from you, or I need time to myself, or I need to prioritize my relationship, or I need to prioritize my friendships here, despite the fact that you need to get to work, despite the fact that you need to get a job. It didn't feel right. Um, so something that I would often experience is when I would talk to my mom about it. Excuse me. When I would talk to my cousins who are a little bit older, but still, you know, from a similar family background and values, they would just say, wow, apparently I'm not supposed to be speaking right now. But they would always tell me, like, hey, you can just move on from it. Like, the fact that you can't create your own space isn't that big of a deal because they're going through X, Y, and Z. Like, they need you right now. So when I went to them and made it known that this is taking a toll on me, I'm not able to give time to myself, give time to my friendships, give time to my relationship at the time. It is taking a toll on me, and I'm not really sure how to go about it. And instead of validating that it was okay for me to want to put up boundaries, I was met with a lot of almost guilt of, well, why are you even thinking about yourself? Family matters, right? Family matters the most. No matter what happens, like, it's okay if they did something that upset you. It's okay if they did something to hurt you. Family matters the most. And I think that's something that's a shared common theme. I know I've heard it from Neil. I know, Prinjal, you and I have talked about this, of just no matter what, family above all. And I think that particular statement has now become a trigger for me. The family above all has definitely become a trigger because that definitely made it worse for me. I don't define my family by just blood. My definition of family is truly built upon, yes, there are members of my family that to put it how the kids put it, that I fuck with. But there are also,
you are so old.
I know, but I felt so cool just now saying that.
Yeah, but you're gonna rehear this, and you're not gonna think that whatsoever.
Probably, but it didn't make it. It made it worse that you called me out on it. So, like, fuck you.
Yeah, of course. You would have called me out on it. This time I didn't say that shit. So.
For sure. So yes, there's family that I fuck with, but for the most part, I think my definition of family is defined by the friends that I've built up until this point. So when I hear family above all, it is a trigger for me to say that it is oftentimes the people closest to you. And since within the Indian community, Indian culture, more often than not, the people closest to you are your family. You grew up with them. You were told to stick with them, right? You don't let them go. Family's everything. So it's more often than not those people who are closest to you that end up hurting you. And that's not to say that the idea of family is bad or that all family members are bad. It just so happens that within our community, we're just so tied to family that ends up putting a lot of pressure on it. And I'm a true believer of, you spend a lot of time with anyone, doesn't matter who it is, you're bound to have conflict, right? The difference is with friends, with your partner, you get to choose that. You get to choose if you want to give your energy there, if you want to give your time there. I don't know about you guys. Growing up, I don't know if I got that. I don't think we get that choice of, do you want your family to be those people that you give your energy to? You were expected to, no matter what.
I don't think you got that choice. I mean, like,
No,
growing up,
so,
I don't think you did.
Yeah. Generally, generally speaking, you don't have a choice. And I think this is funny because me and Amit have talked about this before, and it's it's because we're so tied to our essentially parents without actually, doing that. What happens when your parents or your family let you down in that way, right? Now, everything else is your choice. The one thing that you are never given a choice with is your parents or your family. You just aren't. You're born, but you didn't choose them, right? They didn't choose you, but you didn't choose them at the end of the day, right? That's just kind of there. You're just
Yeah.
there with them,
Yeah.
right? So what happens when that choice isn't yours to begin with, but you kind of just fall into the acceptance and, like you said, of the role playing of, well, I just got to do it because that's what we're taught. And,
Right.
even if they're letting you down, even if they're disappointing you, even if they're hurting you, right?
And I think the the one thing I've learned, or rather, not maybe not learned, the better way to put it is that I've seen is for whatever reason, these people who you're told are supposed to be the closest to you, are supposed to have the best intentions, right? I know I hear it from my mom a lot. I think used to, maybe not as much anymore, every so often. Like, hey, your friends, they'll come and go, but your family's always going to be around, and that's why you stick with your family, right? I've heard that line so many times. That's probably become a trigger. Honestly, I think I can safely say the concept of family in general is a trigger for me. Nonetheless, um, when it's interesting to me that these people who are supposed to be closest to you, have your best intentions, more often than not don't have the best intentions for you.
It,
Or go ahead.
no, I was just going to ask, do you think that these sayings, I mean, we're exploring all this stuff, right?
Hmm.
For
Hmm.
especially in our generation now. Do you think that that's from a narrowed lens? Like, does that not sound like, and I'm not saying it one way or the other, but does it sound like for them it was a very narrowed lens that they didn't not that they didn't or couldn't have friends and all that stuff, but I think friendship to them was very limited to a certain extent. Like it wasn't as what we think of it nowadays, right? So could it have been through much more of a narrowed lens for them that family was always going to be there regardless because they don't understand the whole like concept of, well, even if they hurt them, you still got to be there, right? You still got to do the familial things
Hmm.
and
Hmm.
so on and so forth. You carry yourself in what we deemed in the first episode like the whole societal
Right, right.
thing. You can't kind of go away from that, right? So
I will answer your question with a simple yes. It was a narrowed lens, and I think it wasn't to their fault though. I think
no, no, of
if we're
course,
right, if we're gonna look at
yeah,
generations before them, they're told the same thing: family over
right,
everything, family
right,
over everything. I don't know if they were ever able to give their friends a chance, the opportunity to show them that they could show up in that way, right? Like I think I'll use my mom as an example. She had a strong group of friends, and then she got married. And that sounds crazy to me because I'm married and I value my friends. I still maintain those relationships. But for her, that looks so different. And I think a huge portion of this that we always have to take into account is the fact that it's very much possible they left those friends behind, physically left them behind, and moved to America, right?
mhm,
So now you've moved to another country, you've left your friends behind. All you really do have to lean on is your family. So, like it or
right,
not, these are your people. These are the people that you got to make do with. And then add in the fact that they're obviously taught, right? Like your family is everything, your family's going to take care of you, et cetera, et cetera. So they really don't get the opportunity to explore those friendships or explore what those friendships could provide to them. Um, like I'll and especially Neil, you mentioned this in one of our episodes. We're also told everything that happens in this household stays within these four walls. You don't tell nobody about it, right? Especially not someone that's not family. Like I think I can accurately say that most members of my family probably don't know a lot about me in terms of the grief, in terms of the negative things that I've gone through. right? We're supposed to put on a show. We're supposed to make it seem like everything looks great, everything feels
It-
great, we're great, we're all perfect.
right. Even in front of family. Isn't that crazy?
Even in front of family. That's
right. That's mind
100
blowing.
absolutely, because these are supposed to be the people you're supposed to lean on.
right.
So
You
all
get
these things that
told
they're saying,
yeah.
like these are the people you lean on when things get bad. Well, how am I supposed to lean on them if they don't even know when
Right.
things are bad? If I can't tell
Exactly.
them?
It's a very paradoxed looking thing, right? You get told well, yeah, you're supposed to be close to them, and these are, you don't put anyone above them. Well, it's like, okay,
Yeah.
cool, so I can tell them things. Like, no, you can't tell them.
No, you can't.
Well, then
Right.
how how the hell does that work?
Right.
It's
Right.
so weird. Yeah,
And
looking at it now, it's really weird.
it is, and that's one thing I've had to learn for myself. Like, I think for a very long time, it was really tough for me to open up to members of my family. And I think for the longest time, all I kept thinking was like, well, why don't you know? Right? Like, how do you not know? You're my family. How do you not know? But like,
Mhm.
you're not gonna know if I don't tell you.
Yeah.
I can't tell you because I'm told not to. So it's like
Mhm.
this endless loop of just not communicating, not letting each other in, not being vulnerable. But then those expectations are gonna be there because they're built up in your head. Family's gonna be there. Family takes care of everything, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And that doesn't allow us to take into account, well, yeah, family, at the end of the day, family is not a superpower. And I don't mean that like fuck family. I mean that as in like at the end of the day, people in your family are still people, right? Like they're not going to just automatically know. Just because they're family doesn't mean they're going to know more if you don't tell them or if you don't let them in. And I think part of what we're doing, with this podcast, whether that's family, friends, whatever that looks like, parents, like, is understanding that you can only, we mentioned this with RJ, only meet someone as deeply as they've met themselves. That's one part of it. But two, you can only really hope to get help when you ask for it.
Yeah.
And I guess the theme of this episode talks about, well, what happens when you ask for help and it's not helpful.
Mhm.
So for me, when I went through that experience with, and that's happened time and time again for me, where I hear what it's supposed to look like, or when I'm supposed to put up a boundary, or when I'm supposed to do something for myself, and I'm continuously told that myself doesn't matter, the needs of others around me matter more. And I think that that's one thing that I know my dad had, my mom has. I think I have it too, but I'm learning how to put up boundaries where I need to, because I know what I did learn from them. While I learned the beautiful portion of being able to give yourself to other people for the betterment of others, I've also learned how much that can hurt you when it creates unnecessary or unfathomable expectations on your end. Right? It's going to inherently create an expectation for me for you to show up because I did. And I can't say that I'm as good as my dad was, where he could do it without any sort of expectation. I'm not that good, and we went over that in the last episode.
There you go
I'm
again.
nowhere near that.
No, I'm just kidding.
I'm
Do you
not.
I have a story about you, Amit, that I don't know if you
Shoot,
remember,
shoot.
where we're talking about how you like to give yourself to family. And I don't think you even remember this story, but it like really resonated with me. Like I don't know if you remember when we went to India in 2008, like all of us together. And it was like the three families that went. And
Yeah,
I I remember I had gotten terribly sick because obviously it's India, like we all get sick.
yeah.
So I got very sick after eating like street side food. And I remember our parents were just like busy doing stuff. And the entire trip, you stayed with me. Like you stayed next to me when we were in the car. You stayed next to me when we were sleeping, when I was sick. And like even your dad, like I can remember even a story, like I even have like a memory of him taking me on his like motorcycle and like putting me on the front and riding with it. And like I like as much as like family can be hard to deal with, I do think you've done a really good job of still giving yourself to family. And I think that's really important too, because like those, I know that might not be a memory for you, but it's still a memory for me. And like, I hold that very close to my heart. And like, I don't think that'll ever go away.
I appreciate that. And I remember the trip. I remember us being together a lot on that trip. I probably don't remember as many of those smaller details that you do. And some of that is also just me repressing memories with my dad that I, wish I could get back, because there's probably a lot of memories like that that I don't remember right now. But that's something I'm trying to work through. But I really appreciate you saying that. It's funny you bring that up, because one thing I was talking to my friend Shivam, shout out Moldy Brothers Entertainment, I'm here for all your DJ and MC needs. I had to.
We got to.
Got to.
Yo, give them all the shout outs, man.
Absolutely. I'm gonna throw UIC in there at some point.
We already did. We're trying to get sponsorships here.
Absolutely.
Prinjal, if you got any, bring them to the table.
Internet's not cheap nowadays, man.
Shout out internet companies, Frontier.
Shout out Comcast, AT&T, hit us up for real. So Shivam and I were talking about this. So last weekend, Neel, you might remember her. Prinjal, you probably remember her. Bio, Shivam's sister. It was like the official meet and greet between the families. And without mentioning names, not because I don't want to go there from my standpoint, but just to respect the privacy of others, there was someone there whom we're close to that was having an off day. And we found out later on that, because Nirali and I went, and we were invited, and blessed to be invited, because it was a family-only event, and the fact that they consider us that way is beautiful on its own. But after that event, we found out that because of our presence, just us showing up and just kind of being almost like a buffer, helped this person get through their day, made their day better. And I remember telling Shiva, I wasn't focusing on that person per se. I kind of knew that person was struggling with things, and I wanted to talk to them, but that wasn't the place or the time for it. But so it's not like I did anything extra, right? I didn't go out of my way to have a conversation. I didn't go out of my way to do anything. I was just there, and Nirali was just there. But when we found that out, I remember telling Shiva, I'm like, this is it for me. This is why, as much as I've been hurt by unmet expectations, as much as all the negative stories I might have about people not, quote unquote, showing up for me, which when I say those things, please don't take that as like definitive fact, as in I'm in the right and they're in the wrong. It's my perception of that story, right? It's my experience of that story. Regardless, it's why I can't get away from what my parents have taught me, because you never really know the impact you have on someone in any given moment. Like this, happened to find out because that person went out of their way to let us know. And I'm so glad that they did, because without which I wouldn't have even known that we had this impact. But I think it's amazing how such little things can truly have a lasting impact. I mean, Prinjal, you bringing up that story, like I didn't realize how much of a lasting impact that had on you, Like in that moment, I was probably thinking, I'm trying to take care of my cousin and like do what I can for you. But here we are, 17 years later, and that's still something you remember.
Well, I was like, my parents were busy with your parents, and like my sister wasn't there, and I'm used to having an older shadow, and I'm used to being the little shadow. I didn't have that, so you kind of took that over, and I really needed that in that moment, and I don't think I ever got to say thank you for that. So this is a time, 17 years later, thank you. It was really needed, and it helped so much.
You're welcome. Don't wait another 17. That's all I'm gonna say. I'm kidding. I'm so kidding.
He's not.
No.
I'm just
kidding.
Gratitude is never needed.
This is dope. This is exactly kind of like, that's pretty actually cool to hear. Just like being a third party witness on this is pretty cool.
You're telling me.
I got a couple questions for you though.
Fire away,
your
man.
Story, right? So, how old were you when you guys were like all living together in that space?
10 years ago. Actually, 10 years ago, almost to the date.
So you're like 37.
We're not talking about your current age, Neel. We're talking about what I was 10 years ago.
No, you don't flip that around.
I was spring chicken back then,
you like have to wait a minute. You were doing some See how I calmly slipped that in there? That was great. Yeah,
I know. I'm not.
You are. Especially after what you said earlier in the episode. So Showed your age.
You're just
Thanks.
guys. He's been lying to you. His name is
Too late.
spelled
Too late.
Neal. He's been lying to you.
Oh, I hate you so much.
Yeah, we're
Anyways.
fucking doing it. That's where you want to go with it.
Wow.
10 years ago, I was 21,
Okay.
22. Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe. Anyways, we got to check your real birth certificate one day.
You and me both.
So what was, I don't want to say the lasting impact, obviously. I mean, we kind of know that it kind of goes, it shows up in different areas, so we won't actually know what the lasting impact is, right? But what is it that you really wanted, needed, and would have liked? Like, to get the aspect of if someone else is going through that, right? If someone else is on the other side of it, what are they looking for, essentially, to help someone in that situation, right?
When you say on the other side of it, are you talking external so you're not talking from my family member's perspective or mine. You're talking someone who might have tried to be there for me. Is that what you're saying?
No, you or anybody else kind of in your situation, right? So like if someone is relatable, they get to turning and they see like someone's going through what you went through in that moment, right? But they don't exactly know what to do or kind of understand or think about it, right? So what is it that you exactly needed in that time? What is it that that you would have liked, right, for your family members to do?
Absolutely. So maybe I'll say this from like a few different perspectives, if that's okay. I think I'll say this from my family member's perspective. I'll say this from my perspective, objectively speaking. And then I might even say this from a external, someone who's listening. So basically the person that I would have confided in that was talking to me that might have said, the wrong thing, what the right thing, quote unquote, could have been. And there's a reason I'm going to go through all three perspectives. And hopefully I'll, won't eat up all the bandwidth and time here. So I'll start with the easy one, which is my perspective. I think what I should have given myself in that time, wish I gave myself more of permission. Permission and grace. Permission to say it's okay for me to put up boundaries. It's okay if someone is disappointed or angry by me putting up a boundary, because if I'm putting up a boundary, if my body's physically telling me that, hey, you are uncomfortable right now, that's for a reason. And I think if because of how often I felt it during that time period, if I had listened to myself and put up those boundaries, I think my relationships would have looked a little different today. Not only with them, but just amongst everyone. Go ahead.
Very important what you just said. I hope people listen to that part. Just speaking on my own self of being an advocate now, understanding that, I hope people listen to that. I'm going to repeat that for everyone to hopefully hear. And it is listen to your body, listen to what is going on with yourself. The more awareness you bring to it, like you are clearly very aware in that time frame. This is 10 years ago. So as a 21, 22-year-old, we know you personally. We know that you're a very self-aware person, right? But if you're not, understand, like, the best thing you can do is instead of being aware of your surroundings and the outside, be aware of what's going on inside. I think we kind of like keep going over that, and every story kind of goes back to that for a reason. Yeah, right.
100%. 100%.
I'm glad you said that. That's awesome.
Actually, that's something, as I always say in each and every episode, and I will continue to say this. Neil's got the gold nuggets. That's actually something I got from you. Of the physical awareness of what your body's telling you. Listen to your body. That's something you taught me. I probably knew what it was. I didn't know how to put it into words, but because you've been around for so much longer than me, you just have better ways to put it. So that was my perspective.
You're like you were on camera and recording this.
What would you do otherwise?
I'll give you a piece of mind. You ain't gonna text me.
I know that much.
I cannot wait till we do this. I know we're gonna get to record at least one time when we're together. I can't wait for that too. Because then when you say shit like that, you're gonna see some like. I'll just push you in your chair. I'll push you over.
That's totally fine.
That'll be only at that point.
I'll just cut off your mic.
It's a metal mic, homie.
No, I'll literally cut it off. I'll tell Nurali to cut it. I don't know. I'll do something.
All right. You're not allowed here anymore.
Why are we friends? Why are we?
Because of this. And because we started this podcast, now we have to be friends.
Oh yeah, that's it.
So going back to, so that's my perspective, right? I'm gonna then switch to, I think the important next one is gonna be the family's perspective, right? So I can't fathom, and it would be inappropriate for me to speak on their experience. Okay, it's just so, and that's why this is gonna be short and sweet. I cannot fathom moving to another country. I cannot fathom having all these cultural changes, because it is such a big cultural change between here and India. It's nowhere near the same. A lot of people keep saying, like, India's becoming more and more westernized. Yeah, but
Slowly.
not at the same time.
Yeah, slowly.
Exactly. And I
Slowly.
think if they are becoming more westernized, they're becoming westernized to like 10, 15 years ago us. Right. And
Right.
2025
I just
us,
said that. Literally just said that.
so different.
We were listening to a song real quick. We were listening to a song
Yeah.
the other day, and RJ was like, "Oh, is this from like the '80s?" And it was a song from a movie in the '90s. So like 10-year gap frame when you hearing it, like there is technology just hasn't like developed as is. It's going to, absolutely, but
Right.
it's
Absolutely.
just funny. They are still ways away.
Yeah, and not in a bad way. We're not trying to say that they live in the slums or
Not
anything
in a
like
bad
that.
way. It's just that's how it is. Like,
It's a
you can
cultural thing.
westernize something, but it's not really like what's going on here.
Yeah, and there's also a level of like how much they're willing to westernize that I think will never just naturally not change. So
Right.
anyway, I can't fathom all of those major changes in your life, and unfortunately that they really only had the one person to lean on, which was me at that time. Mom was here, of course, but I think mom played a bigger hand in logistics. Mom played a bigger hand in taking care of the aunts and uncles. When it came to my cousins, that was me, right? So they had to come here, find work, get into school, succeed, because that's what they came here to do. They didn't come here to live the same life they've been living over there. They came here to be way better, way different. And now you have just this almost like the single point of failure. I'll use an IT term because that's how my brain works. In me, right? I'm the only avenue that they had at the time to obtain the information, to get the resources. So I can't fathom what that looks like, and I can't blame them for it. I can't blame them for having needs. I think the situation was what it was, right? At that time, I was the only one that was available. They had a lot of needs. That was Nala. She made her appearance. It was just sort of like the perfect storm. So I don't think any of it was their fault. I think if it was anything that, it's the same advice I'd give anybody: a little bit of self-awareness, right? Understanding like how much are you asking of this one person. But again, I can't blame them. So that was short and sweet because I genuinely cannot speak on that experience. I think it would be inappropriate for me to do so, and it'd be insulting their experience, frankly. So I'm going to move. Go ahead, Terry. No, go ahead.
Can I just say this?
Please.
I hope this is also very important, and I hope you. I'm sure you're going to agree. I hope you agree with this, but in no part of you saying that does that, and I want this for the listeners as well, right? In no part does it, just because you are understanding of that, and this is something that I have to come to grips with myself. So, in no part you understanding their plight should that mean that you're subjecting yourself to not being like pushing yourself up either, right?
Mm-hmm.
So there, you can have both. Your feelings matter too. And I think a lot of people misunderstand that part of like, because you understand someone else's, that your feelings should just kind of automatically go away, and like how you handle things should just kind of make it look, pretty and nice, just because those people are going through stuff. Everyone's going through things, including yourself. And I think that's very important, right? If you just kind of look for that every single time, you will continually repress what is going on with you. And take it from someone who keeps doing that in their own life, that has done that and is understanding that for themselves. Like, that is pretty big. So it's very big of you to say that part as well, but also making it aware, like, your feelings do not mean less than just because you understand someone else's plight.
1000%. And I appreciate
Just
you
wanted
saying
to,
that.
yeah, just wanted to state that part.
And I think you summarized the third party. I think you summarized what I would have wanted to hear from someone else in a really great way. I think instead of telling me family's everything, like imagine what they're going through, like essentially what I was told was the opposite of what you just said, right? Like because their experiences are so big right now, so difficult, so tumultuous, yours don't matter as much, right? Like, okay, so you didn't get to spend time with your girlfriend today. So what? Or you didn't get to go out with your friends this time. So what? Right? It was those if someone had said to me, hey, your feelings and your experience is just as valid as theirs, there's no reason to compare extremities, right? There's extremes. Apparently we're
Those are
party
fingers
cards.
and toes on
Yes,
this.
yes.
No, I'm just kidding.
I heard it after I said it. Okay, leave me the fuck alone. Goddamn. Prinjal, make sure
This is gonna
Jackie doesn't
happen
listen
this
to this
entire
episode.
episode. You started this.
Hate me.
Yeah, you started this. You started this. I just want you to know
I
this
did.
is
I did
how.
come out shooting. You're right. You're right. I chose violence anyway. But there's no reason to compare extremes and impacts. We can simply hold space for both experiences. And I think if I had heard that, it might not have necessarily solved the problem of boundaries and everything like that. I think that's something that I needed to learn for myself anyway. Nobody could have done that for me. It wasn't going to solve that problem. It at least would have just made me feel like, hey, the feelings that I have are valid. The experiences that I have is valid. And there's space for that. And that this person that I'm going to can understand that without making me feel less than, making me feel like I'm somehow prioritizing my own emotions over someone else's experience, because it doesn't need to be one or the other. And I think that theme overall, I imagine in so many people that I've talked to over my life, is a very recurring theme where your emotions just aren't, or your experiences are just a little bit lower or less than someone else's. Therefore, yours need to be put off to the side. And I think more often than not, I can think back to an experience when I told my dad, when he was still here, that I wanted to switch my major from computer science to psychology. Now, first of all, anybody with a brown parent can understand what their reaction probably was. You're talking about engineering to a fake ass fucking job is what they heard, right? So when I was at, told you I get the shout out. When I was at UIC,
doctor, you should have been like doctor of psychology.
That's what I should have said.
Doctor, that's all we heard.
First of all, you just heard me say extremities in the wrong fucking way. We both know my ass wasn't going to make it as a doctor.
I know you wouldn't be a doctor. That no one would go to you, but at the same time,
nor should they. But I told you I'd get UIC in here. So shout out UIC. When I switched from computer science and wanted to switch to psychology, I just remember how much that impacted my dad.
It's crazy.
And he was just like, my anxiety about computer science, I wasn't switching out of computer science because I was bored out of my mind. I was switching out of computer science because I sucked at it. I was terrible at it. I wasn't getting jack shit done. Now it's another story that, like, you know, I spent 9 out of the 10 hours of my day FaceTiming my girlfriend at the time instead of studying. Whole nother story. But he didn't need to know. He didn't need to know that. If you're listening, Dad, sorry. So when I went to him with this, he's just like, God, what kind of fool did I raise? And now it became about his big feelings, right, at that time. And again, no knock on him. Sorry. No knock on him. That's just how they dealt with emotions. And at that time, I was like, all right, fuck, my emotions don't matter. My anxiety automatically doesn't matter. My mom's telling me that, like, look what you're doing to your dad. My dad's like, look what you're doing to your mom. And I'm just like, fuck, I'm doing all this shit to all you people. So fuck what I think. I'm just going to go back to computer science and maybe I'll FaceTime my girlfriend a little bit less. Whatever the fuck. So I think even though it's a quick experience, I think that's a very common theme of, like, what your admission of feelings does to someone else automatically becomes the story, automatically becomes the focus over what you were trying to do in the first place, which is just share.
Which is funny. You were saying, like, that you weren't looking for a resolution. The funniest part is if whoever's on the other side understands that part, the resolution technically happens, right?
Yes.
It allows the
Yes.
ability for a person to go through and say, oh, I can take my space, I can do, change my major, whatever. It allows for quote unquote a resolution or a solution or whatever, right? And without the fear of the other stuff, without the, you may not like it, but you understand it, and you can. I think that's where a lot of people again get crossed up, is just the same for you. Your feelings are valid, so are theirs, but it doesn't trump the other. It is both able to happen, whereas like just the same. It doesn't mean any one is above or less or any of that, or right or wrong either, right? So
Absolutely. I'm going to close out my portion with this. I'm going to do what you did. I hope everyone heard what Neel just said. And I say that not as if you guys don't have the rewind button. If you don't want to listen to me, I'll say it again anyway. And you can listen to him if you want to. It's, I recently
make your own
Neel.
options with it.
I recently went to Neel, and I do this often. I think I do this with Neel, do it with Shivam, I do it with Roche. I do it with the people I entrust a lot of these vulnerabilities to. Called him, and I said, hey, I just need to fucking talk. Right? Now, if you know me, and if you've probably gathered from these podcasts, I can talk. Not an area that I struggle with.
Are you sure?
I went to him.
Sometimes.
I feel like I have to practice it every once in a while. Right?
I think he's practicing the other side right now a lot, though. It's hard sometimes for him. It's kind of weird now. It like makes me feel very uncomfortable. I'm like, wait a minute, I'm not the one you call, and yet you call me, and then you're like, oh man, I can't talk. I'm like,
he's like figuring out
weird. It's like Twilight Zone. Yeah, it's kind of weird. I don't know.
Well, that's exactly what it is, though, right? Like, I called you and I said, hey, I just need to talk. As soon as I let it all out, it almost resolved itself, right? To a certain degree. It gave me more clarity. And so what Neel said was really important, that sometimes it's not about the resolution. I think we get so hyper-focused on, like, a solution. Sometimes that solution doesn't have to look a certain way. I know your ass does.
Yeah.
That solution
Don't
doesn't
be
have
solution
to have,
oriented.
but that's because you have a mathematical brain. We've talked about that, right? Like that's how your brain works.
Sure, but it's still like you're saying, like don't like not to be solution focused. Don't be solution focused. I think that's a big thing. But yeah,
it's also
just learning from
you could
me.
Also,
that's just for me.
You could also see it as the solution doesn't have to be a sentence. The solution could simply just be talking. That in itself is a solution. And if you see it that way, it might be different for you. I think we get so caught up with like, okay, tangible steps. I think that's what I was looking for. Tangible steps. Do this, this, and this. There's your solution. And because if we don't have action items 1, 2, and 3, it feels like we failed in that discussion. But not all of these conversations have to be like corporate meetings where you come out of it with action items. It could simply just be, hey, we talked, and that was great, right? That helped me. So that is my portion of this. I will hand it over. Prinjal, if you're ready or if you want to, you can go. Otherwise, feel free to kick it to Neel.
So I think when you guys told me about the topic about what other people said that made stuff worse, I don't know if I'm saying it wrong.
That's it.
Don't worry.
Yeah.
So,
don't worry about it. We don't even know half the time where our topics are. We just kind of wing it.
Sounds fair. Okay, so like I pondered on that topic because I like texted you earlier on the day because I just wanted to have an idea of what we're talking about so I can bring up something. And so I've dealt with grief, but the one thing that I've dealt with that a lot of people don't know about, and I feel like Amit was shocked as well when I told him, was that I was in an abusive, toxic relationship for like 3 to 4 years, from like 2016 to like 2020. And it was a very hard time. And a lot of the conversations that I've had afterwards, like I'm still like growing and learning from it. But a lot of the stuff that I get, like the most question that I get is, why didn't you leave? And I think that is like
Oh.
the biggest question in like most relationships when there's cheating, lying, any abuse, any type of like that. And that is a question that I got a lot. And like the whole day, I kept pondering and pondering. And I was like, what answer am I going to give them? And I feel like there are a billion and one answers to that question for every single person. And I don't think any of them are not valid. I think all of them are valid. And I think everyone has their reason why they stay in whatever situation they do. And I don't, and like the one thing that I really struggle with is like trying to find an answer to that because that person is 5 years ago. I'm not that person anymore. So for me to try to answer that question now, 5 years later, is so much harder because I no longer have that thought process. I'm no longer in that environment. So it's so much harder for me to be like, well, I didn't leave because I was stupid. I don't have an answer. It's and I get that question a lot. And a lot of women will be in the same situation and just be like, why didn't you leave? And then the other question will be, what made you leave? And
Isn't that weird? Isn't that so funny?
yeah, they're
Man,
like, where did you draw the
that
line?
is crazy.
But then why didn't you draw the line? So
It's crazy.
I get that quite often, but I think, and I think I say the same thing to everybody is that everyone is going to have a different experience. And like abusive and toxic relationships, I think are a really particularly interesting case because I don't feel like you're going to be done until you're done. Until you finally hit your breaking point, you're not going to get out of that situation. And I'm tired of people judging other people because they didn't hit their breaking point. Like just because that's like that was a breaking point for you doesn't mean it was a breaking point for me.
So can I thank you for sharing that. That is awesome. Not awesome that it happened to you. Awesome in the fact I got this is why I stated it in the first fucking episode that like with the way I say things, I catch myself after
Oh
I've
my
said it.
gosh.
Not that it happened to you. Fuck off, people who are gonna leave comments. Not that they have, but still. Um, but thank you for sharing that in that way. That's very very raw and open. I was not expecting that. So, um, yeah, that's actually very very courageous. Not a lot of people do that shit. So thank you so much. My question: did this happen recently?
It was 5 years ago.
Okay, okay,
I was in
five
that
years ago.
relationship from like 2016, maybe like 2015 to like 2020.
Do you feel pressure that you have to answer those questions?
When like people ask me,
Yeah. You
yeah,
feel like you have to have something for
yeah.
them?
Especially when it's like women struggling in that situation,
Yeah.
I want because I've been there. I just want to pull you out of it, and I want to protect you so badly, especially because it just boils my blood in a different way. But I just found that you can't save somebody that doesn't want to be saved. And I think my family and my sister and my mom had to come to the same realization where like they kept trying and trying, but the more they tried, the more they pushed away and the more I went the wrong direction. And so it really it's you have to like you said earlier, you have to trust your own body and you have to go at your own pace. And if you don't, you're gonna just revert.
Wow. That's yeah. Couldn't say it any better. Funniest part is I will tell you from me is that I fall into that category. So the reason why I say thank you for bringing that up, I you never realize what that question kind of entails for someone that's in there, right? Of like, yeah, it's very easy on the outside to say that shit, of
Yeah.
course, right? But you're not in that person's shoes, and so understanding. I will not say that anymore. Like now, knowing what I was, if I was 5 years ago, I probably would have been the same person. Ask you that question, like,
Why didn't you
you
just
know,
leave?
why didn't you just leave? Yeah, it's very easy to say, very harder to do. Understanding like not understanding what's actually going on, right? So very very kind of you to say that. Absolutely. Um, have you have you are you okay with just allowing yourself not to answer it? Like I know it like you want to give an answer, absolutely, right? To help someone else, but isn't it okay that not giving that answer and also showing that it's okay not to give that answer is helping them?
Yeah, I think it's okay to not expect them to listen. You can
Mhm.
give them the advice and maybe you'll put a seed in their brain and maybe it'll grow and that plant will come and they'll finally, leave that situation. But I don't, that's what all I try to do is because I know when they're in their situation, because I've been there, I know you're not going to listen to me. You're not going to listen to anybody. So I'm just going to try to plant that seed. And maybe when you're in those, like when you're breaking down, you might hear my voice, give you that advice, letting you know that you can leave. You are stronger. You don't need this
Yeah,
situation.
absolutely. Right.
And maybe that little seed will be there and it'll grow. And that's what I like. I will give people grace. Like, I'm not going to be like, if you don't leave this relationship, it's not good for me. So I'm not going to
Well,
stay in this
well,
relationship.
yeah.
But people can do that. That's completely valid. I just don't do that because
Mhm.
it would break me to do that because I just know how lonely I felt. So,
Have you been okay with being okay with not answering it? Like just being okay with saying like I don't know. I don't know why I didn't do these things, and you know that's okay, right? Because you're not, maybe you can't answer that right now, and that obviously you can't. You said that, right? And why is that not just okay that you can't?
I think that that's another good point. Like, I don't know why it's not okay just to not know because I've had people that are like, why didn't you leave? But he cheated. Why didn't you leave? Like, it's very obvious. Like, you could have just left, but he was hitting you. Like, why didn't you just leave? And it's just something, if you're not wearing the shoes, like, you're just not going to get it. And
Yeah,
I'm
absolutely.
not going to pressure you into getting it. And I hope you never get it, actually. Honestly, I hope you never understand what it was like and what it
Yeah,
feels like to have to be like, to be in that situation.
that's that's very poignant. That is very poignant, and really like sorry that that has happened to you. Uh, I should have started off by saying that I apologize that it didn't, but sorry that that ever came about. I've been around it, so like I know those kinds of things, but I am very, very sorry that that's happened to you. But we really appreciate you sharing something that hard, to be quite honest.
Well, thank you for allowing me to share and listening. It
Absolutely.
helps.
I'll I think Prinjal, the first time you told me. So let me take a step back. Absolutely, could not reiterate this more. One, sorry that it happened to you, and I'm not saying this because we're in a public forum because I feel like I have to. I'm saying it because anytime I think about it, anytime I hear about it from you, it irks the absolute shit out of me.
Dude,
Like
I was gonna say that exact
so
same
much,
thing.
so much.
Oh man, oh
Like
man. Like Prinjal, I
I
don't know
can't.
you, but you are family. But I wanna. I am not gonna be that guy. But I know we're in a public space and like with camera, I am exactly feeling like you. I really want to punch him, whoever he is.
A little bit more than
Not
that.
that it matters. Yeah, but you know.
Yeah.
Ugh,
Sometimes
I hate
the
I hate
olden
that
days they
shit.
had the whole eye for an eye ruling. At times I want to re-implement that.
The olden days, they would have put him out in the middle of the street and let people fucking like throw stones at him.
Yeah.
Not in
Um,
India, but you know everywhere else apparently. So
so I'm sorry because in the worst way possible, and I'm saying this, one of the things that I struggle with is the feeling of helplessness. I hate it when I can't do something about something. I think it's, call it a god complex, hero complex, or whatever the fuck you want to call it. But I struggle with that. Okay. So when I hear that, when I think about that, all I think about is the fact that, and this is not to say that you needed me to save you, like you said. It was for you to overcome at your pace, in your way. I'm saying that because obviously, as someone who cares for you, as your family, I hate that that happened to you, and that I wish I could have done everything I possibly could to protect you. And the flip side, from what it sounds like, and from what I've gotten to know about you, the relearning you, quite frankly, it has shaped a lot of who you are today in a good way, right? You're a lot stronger, and for so many other things that you probably pulled out of it, that if we can think to the positives. But I'm going to start off with that. I'm going to say I'm sorry that you had to go through it in the first place, and I really wish you didn't. I'm going to thank you for acknowledging something that deep and that traumatic, in a place like this. You weren't required to, but the fact that you willingly did also tells me that you've put in the work with yourself to get to this place where you can say this, right? And I think in that regard, I'm so freaking proud of you for doing that. That being said, I think we heard from you what made it worse, right? When people asked you, why didn't you do this? Why didn't you do that? Almost coming from that place of judgment of like, it's so obvious. Why aren't you doing it? And like looking down on you, almost talking to you condescendingly, right? And I love that you said that you just can't help someone that doesn't want to be helped in that situation, that people have to go through it for themselves. I love that you said that because I don't know that people can truly understand that for themselves until they go through it. So, pardon me. We heard what made it worse. And I'm so glad that you're not there mentally. But now that you're out of it, what do you think was something that someone could have said or did that might have shown you support during that time period? And I'm going to ask you in a two-parter because there's that time period, and I don't want you to take your head back to that place. Okay, so if that's what's going to happen, skip over this first part. The second part of it is when you share today, I'm sure it's triggering in its own way. What is something that today you hear, if you were to hear it, where you would be like, what the fuck is wrong with you? Why would you ask me that? Like truly making, if it's that same question, it's that same question. But I'm wondering how someone who is going through that would perceive support. What does support look like to them in that situation?
Okay, so this is kind of interesting for me. So I guess this is how I'll explain it. I got to take it back a little bit. When I was in that relationship, I was not a very kind person. And it's, it, maybe it was because of him, maybe it was because of who I am, whatever the case was. I know that I just wasn't happy. And I think I was hurt. So I was hurting other people. And so I was just an angry person and I was not nice to be around. And I remember when that situation where I was like, I'm leaving this relationship thinking like I have nobody by me. Like I've lost all my friendships. I don't have like I wasn't close to family. My like have ruined relationships with my family. Like the events I would go to I wasn't 100% at. I wasn't talking to cousins. Like I just felt like everyone hated me because of how I acted and how I put that person first. And the way that I felt supported was actually them doing normal things with me, like them just being normal with me and not
Mm,
treating me like I'm a
mm,
victim. And then also
mhm,
letting, like, just loving me and supporting me, even though I was just terrible. Like, they let me be that terrible person in that time being. And then they let me kind of come back. They let me come back and let me be
mm,
myself. And then when I grew, I finally became aware enough to apologize. And that's when I like relationships grew more and more, but they never let go. And I think that was the biggest thing that helped me was that they could have just been like, screw it. Like, you know what? You didn't want to listen to us. Go get out of the house. You don't want to, you're mean to us. They could have done all of that, but they didn't. They still loved me and supported me, even though I was a horrible person at that time. And then when I came back, they accepted me. And I think that's all you need to do when somebody's in a situation like that is to just be there when they fall, because they are going to fall. So just be there.
I love that. It's I don't mean to simplify it because that's not the point, and nor do I think it's possible. But I think a lot of what I'm hearing from you is a lot. I think that we've touched on before, giving someone the permission to just be,
Yeah, that
right?
was
Allowing them to experience what they need to experience in whatever way they need to experience it. I think more often than not, I'm guilty of this. I know this for a fact. More often than not, we think we know better than the person we're talking to. It's fucked up to me because when I sat here and told people about things and they gave me advice, I was just like, you don't know what the fuck I'm going through. Like, your advice is stupid, you're stupid, everything's stupid. Right. So then when I had the audacity to turn around and be like, well, I know better than you. And I know I've been guilty of that. I think we probably all have, realistically. But I know better now. And I love that you said that because I think it's not for any one person to any other person, any other one person to figure out for themselves or for someone else. the person who's going through it just needs to go through it.
Yeah.
And the best thing you can do is just support them in that, right? In whatever that looks like.
That's it. And I mean, just accept them for who they are. I mean, they're gonna go through some very ugly
Yeah.
times,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
if you really love that person, you can stick through it. And
Yeah.
thankfully, my mom and my sister and my family, my dad and everyone did. I don't think they know the extent of everything that happened, and I don't think I'll ever share it because it's really,
Yeah.
I think it would hurt everybody just as much. But they were still there, and I think, and like same with my family and cousins and friends, like you guys, everyone accepted me, even though I was not a great friend or a great person at that time, and I think that's all I really needed to move forward.
As a quick side note, I just want you to know, I totally understand wanting to keep that from. I mean, let's just say your parents for sure. Because I know your parents very well, obviously, and I can understand not wanting to expose them to that because it probably would hurt them. But I want you to know it's okay if you want to, whether it's to them or anyone else. I'll volunteer myself any day of the week. If you ever get to a point where you do want to let some of that out, because it's hard to hold for yourself. And I think what you just said, while beautiful and amazing, it speaks a lot to who you are. Kind of goes back to like you choosing someone else's needs over yours, right?
Yes, that's true.
And so I'll volunteer myself in that situation and tell you if you ever get to a point where you do want to let some of that out, and if you feel comfortable, like please text me, call me. Not saying this because we're on a public forum and I'm trying to win brownie points. Like I want you to know I mean that wholeheartedly.
Thank you.
Yeah. I think that we said this at the beginning of this podcast. Like, again, I don't know you very well. Hopefully, this is the beginning of another friendship as well that I've made through doing something like this. Yeah, by all means, like we're both here in that sense. I think we've made that known for people. Like, it's hard again to hear stuff like that, absolutely, and we are not here to give advice, we're not here to do that, but we are here to share these experiences, and you've been so kind enough to share that experience. But I hope people understand that you, like, again, we're not saying this just to say this. Everyone is not alone. There is not a single person that is alone, um, no matter what. So Prinjal, I again don't know you, but ditto with what Amit said. You have two people here. If you ever need a space to do that, well, I know it probably won't be me, but offering it is not beyond me. I think I'm trying to learn that for anybody. Um, yeah, like a lot of what you said is very, very poignant, and I'm glad that he was actually telling me about who should come on this, and he nailed it. He nailed it. Absolutely nailed it. Amit, you absolutely nailed it. So that was really really good.
Well,
So
thank you, both of you,
thank
for
you.
the support. I really appreciate that because it is a very scary topic to talk about, and
Yeah,
you guys have been very receptive, so it makes me feel a lot less lonely.
it's the least we can do, quite frankly.
Yeah, absolutely,
Quite
absolutely.
frankly, the least we can do. So don't give
Um,
us more credit than we deserve.
yeah, no, this is nothing. Trust me. But we appreciate that. I do have something that I do want to say, and this isn't to deter um, one way or the other. This is very objective in this sense as well. What you said of uh, people accepting, eh, that's very big, right? Now, accepting is one thing, and I want people to understand this as well. Of like you, we, we say this a lot of like, don't pass judgment. Obviously, people say that. It is very key. You don't know what people are going through in that moment. That doesn't mean you are, you know, people can understand a certain way of like who the actual person is and decipher that for themselves. Everyone has that ability or should have that ability. Um, so you are not inclined to just accept like your family. I'm sure you would agree with this too. The person that you were doesn't define who you are, right? But that doesn't also make it okay for anybody to just say like, oh yeah, we know Prinjal, we can accept you, right? Just because you came back, it's all good, blah, blah, blah. I think everyone needs to hear it from that lens as well to decipher, because it's not always like, just knowing you seem like a great person, but that's not always the case, right? So understanding and deciphering that is also very important. Don't allow yourself to just be, oh yeah, it's fine if it's not fine for you, if it's not okay. We talk about boundaries all the time. I think that is a very important thing to not take lightly. I'm learning that about myself. Amit has clearly said that for himself. Like, we're learning in that capacity of what boundaries are and what they mean to us. So it's not just sunshine and rainbows and everyone just like because they were this one way that they're just better. It's not always that. So I hope people understand to decipher it for themselves and understand like what is right for them, what is okay, if to allow that person back into their life.
Yeah.
Because it's not always, just because something might have happened, that doesn't mean that erases maybe trauma for another person, right? So like understanding that is also very important, but we are definitely glad that like people have understood it in your life. We are absolutely, absolutely glad, because that is not, you were changed. I mean, that does change people. There are certain situations that does actually change people until they kind of realize it for themselves and understand it and get out of it, right? So very big on you to actually say that too, because some people will just be like, like I'm back, I'm away from that, it's okay, accept me, and they don't realize it for themselves that they were maybe not the best version of themselves, or maybe a different version of themselves, right? So very big on you to say that.
I mean, I think I think I realized too when I came back, I was like, I think when I was in that relationship, I was kind of looking for love, not realizing I
Mhm,
had love at home with a whole
mhm,
bunch of
mhm.
people, and I had so many people that loved and cared about me. So I think that's like that. I think that was the biggest thing that helped me come back, and like it allowed me to realize that I'm kind of a jerk. Like I kind of realized in that moment, I was like, I'm a jerk because of the way they treated me. Like you accepted me, but if the roles were reversed, would I would have done that in the same situation? I don't know. So they like through their love and acceptance and supportiveness, I saw in my own like in my own self, and I was like, I'm not a good person right now, and that was because of their love that I saw it.
Say that first part again, Brinjal. Through love and acceptance, what happened? Yeah, say that first part again.
Through love and acceptance, I forgot what I said.
You Oh man, that's great. Can't make that shit up. That's great. No,
You
but
Sorry.
clearly remember, Neil. Go for it.
no, I kind of remember. I just heard that first part. I think that's very
This
important.
motherfucker
That's
forgot too.
very
God damn it.
that, but it is very. Don't worry, we can play it back. It's all good.
Yeah, they can rewind.
But yeah, it's very important though what you said, through love and acceptance. I think a lot of people forget that is through love and acceptance. A lot of things become clear, not only for yourself but for another person too, right? If I'm a big proponent on this, is to walk around the world with a lot of love. I think we all are. I think like we can clearly hear it in your voice. I know Amit does it. He's got biggest heart I know right now. So like I think a lot of people in this day and age need to feel that more and hear that more. Walk around with love. Walk around with love, people. Because if you do that, you get a sense of understanding a whole lot more than just what's for yourself. The funniest part is we talked about this with you, Amit, in the last episode. You feel it first for yourself. You feel it first for yourself, and
Mhm,
everything else opens up. Everything,
mhm,
everything
mhm.
opens up. Talk about solutions, resolutions, whatever you need to do. Everything is accomplished if you walk through life with some sort of love. You have to, right? It's not a single person on this planet is actually bad. No offense, even like I know people are gonna be like, well, what about murders and stuff like that? If you actually listen to people, you will find stories there too. Like they're not just inherently bad. No one's inherently just a bad person. So it's kind of funny, but that's kind of why I just to hear that is, yeah, to hear that is pretty big.
Yeah, and
Again, that doesn't mean disclaimers. That doesn't mean you just kind of let people slide by. But I'm just saying, walk around with love. You see a lot of things a whole lot different.
it feels better instead of hating the world. I feel like you just feel
right?
happier.
You do exactly.
I was tired of hating the world and hating myself and hating everybody, and just finally accepting that love opened up so many doors.
It's tiring. It's exhausting.
It's so tiring. You're right. It is. Being like happy and loving is so much more easier. It's just natural.
I think it's what you both said. I'm just gonna add one last part to that, and that is that love and acceptance. I think we often, when people hear that, they might think that it means loving and accepting others. But and Neil, you kind of touched on this already. It won't happen until you love and accept yourself.
Yeah, that's actually what love and acceptance means. It's
yes.
just loving and accepting yourself.
Yes, because it's
hit on the head.
It's really hard to do when you're not doing it for yourself, because then what it essentially turns into, because I know I went through this for a while too. What it essentially turns into is now you're doing something for someone else that you aren't doing for yourself, and it creates that expectation of them doing it for you, which realistically you need to do for yourself.
And you start kind of respecting them for it too.
Yeah, 100%, 100% you do. That enlightened conversation that I had that one evening with Neil has rung true with me even still. Me loving myself more has truly changed the way I go about my relationships. I go about the world, quite frankly. And loving myself came with its own version of boundaries and all of these things of choosing myself. And I think we all get caught up with, like, I'll say it, shit. Like, when I say that to my mom of boundaries and choosing yourself, she's just like, oh, like American culture and you're selfish and this, that, and the other, right? Indian culture is all about family over everything, and give yourself for someone else.
Yeah, trust.
And that is, I'm a huge believer as to we are doing our culture is doing itself a disservice by doing that. Quite frankly, I think we have a beautiful fucking culture. Beautiful. Right? And it's capable of so much. The way we bring people around us up with us, to me, is truly motivating and amazing to see. And it's very unique about our culture. We bring the people who are, of course, family and closest to us, but even people who aren't, we bring them up with us. And we try not to leave anyone behind. And I fucking love that about our culture. But where we go wrong is when we try to do that to an umpteen extent, where we go above and beyond before we check in with ourselves, before we do that for ourselves. And now it becomes part of that show of like, okay, I'm doing all of this for you, so you should do some of it for me. Oh, you didn't do this much for me? Okay, now fuck you. I'm not going to do as much for you, and because you're not doing it for me. It's creating this cycle of hate. Start with love and acceptance for yourself. Hopefully, from there, you can do that for others. Genuinely do that for others, and it could be a whole different world. It is for me right now. I'll tell you that much.
The funniest part is if you allow yourself to do it for yourself, it does not matter. It does not matter. It inherently sounds selfish, right? In outward sounding it inherently sounds selfish. Love yourself, accept yourself. Well, you're just talking about yourself. But the true meaning of that is if you can do it here, you can do it with anyone, with any person. That doesn't mean that you don't have boundaries. That doesn't mean you just go and do the thing. That means you understand a whole lot more about yourself. That means you're not passing judgment. That means you're not telling someone what to do, how to do it. In a lot of the case, like you just said, oh, these people just said, well, why didn't you leave? Well, you're not doing that. You're not saying those things, right? And understanding for yourself why you're saying that to someone is big. If you're just blindly saying that and just being like, well, I would have done it this way. Well, you don't know that. You don't know that, right? Just saying those things, you have no occurrence of like a lot of times that's kind of what's happening. We're just spewing out shit that you don't really know because you haven't done it here. Right. And our parents, I'll talk about it. Oh man, we talk about our moms, very similar. We know this, but same concept from that generation. You say something like that, it's like, oh, that sounds very selfish. That's very selfish of you. It's like, try it. I guarantee it's not. It's probably the least selfish thing you can do,
Yeah.
because outwardly you understand it a whole lot different if you can love and accept yourself just the way you are. The problem is that most people don't or can't, and that's why a lot of these things happen. So, man, I'm
1000%.
so glad you said that. I'm really proud of you for saying that. That's great.
Came from you, my friend.
You're
We're
stuck
all
with
we're all
yourself for life. So I'm tired of people like, why do you want to hate yourself? You're stuck with yourself forever. Like you're literally, I'm stuck in this.
right. That's the only one person that that's like, again, something so selfish is going to be said here. That's the only one person that matters. If you can take care of yourself, you understand it. For everyone else, no one else is in your control. You are. That's it. That's it. Why do you, like you just said, why do you want to hate yourself?
Yeah.
Fuck, if everyone else died and you're just sitting with yourself and you hate yourself, guess what? You're just going to be pissed off at yourself. That's the dumbest thing in the world. That I find now mind-blowing, absolutely mind-blowing. If you are alone in this entire world and you are just you and you hate your one person, you are absolutely, like, you have failed. Like, if there's one failure in life, that is that. You can't.
And the thing is,
That
you can never
sucks.
actually fail in anything unless you stop trying.
No. Right. Which that shows it, right? That kind of shows it. If you kind of hate yourself, you have stopped trying with yourself.
Yeah.
You just have.
Yeah, you got to keep trying, no matter what, no matter how hard it gets. And it could be like small things, like you know how people make like jokes that are about themselves, that are like they'll ridicule themselves for a joke, like for a laugh. I kind of like I did that before, and I realized I don't want to do that, and now I go the opposite way, where I will overinflate myself, where I'll be like, I'm so pretty that I don't need to work, and obviously like it's a joke, but it, or like I'm obviously the funniest one in here, but like it gets me the same type of joke.
You
like
are. That's probably true.
but
We heard Amit's joke, so
I still get the same type of laugh whether I'm hating myself or if I'm loving myself, and might as well just love myself because my brain is going to be hearing it.
yeah. I mean, even
I
through
actually
the
really
hard
like that.
times. Yeah, absolutely, right? So like, even through the hard times, love yourself. There's nothing wrong with that. I think the funniest part is I learned that since I've been with RJ, is that even through ugliness, even through what you might think is, oh, people are saying this, you're judging me on this, or like, I can't handle certain things, like, even through those things, like, still find a way to love yourself, because if you can see other people for just how they are, like you guys said, right? You see for people how they are, and it's okay. You're just accepting them for themselves because you can do it with yourself. Crazy.
Appreciate you sharing that, Prinjal. Appreciate us going down this whole
Yeah,
chain
sorry.
of thought, because no, don't apologize.
Yeah.
I
it's
think if
crazy.
more people were saying this, and it's probably, going back to the origins of why we started this in the first place, but if more people were saying this, it would become normal to think like this. And I think that's a huge part of what's missing right now. Is we not thinking like this seems like the American way, seems like the selfish way, seems like the out there way. When in reality, what we want to do is almost remove the stigma behind loving yourself, behind choosing yourself. And of course, there's a balance to all of that, right? And you learn that as you go. But you're already on one end of the spectrum. You might as well give the other end a try just for a little bit anyway. And you come together and you find that balance.
The funniest thing you said about that is that it sounds very American and sounds very like, selfish and all that. Funniest thing is, so we're a brown podcast, and if brown people actually took the time, it came from us. It came from our land.
Yeah.
This is a thing from our scriptures from a long time ago. It's been known to, you can ask and go there, and yogis will sit there and talk to you about this kind of stuff. Like, it isn't a new concept. It's just been lost. And I think
it has
that is a
completely
big
gotten
thing.
lost.
Right. And the craziest part is it's been lost within our own culture. Think about that. We talk about this with our parents going through these, with our grandparents, like their generations, like it's gotten lost through those things, which is mind blowing because it's there. It's from there.
It goes back to what you one of the future episodes that I'm looking forward to, religion.
And spirituality.
because our
Oh,
religion.
we will go down the rabbit hole there.
Oh, I'm very much looking forward to that one. Religion, culture. We have two of the most beautiful of those two, right? Now, I'm not going to sit here and pretend like I'm a religious fanatic or that I know enough about it. I frankly don't. But I do know that what it isn't is what it is now. It's not what it is now. And that has been, I'm going to use the word defiled, and it probably sounds more dramatic, but I frankly cannot think of a better word because I think human beings, have defiled what was intended to be. And over time, it was bound to happen through evolution, right? It was either going to go one way or the other. It wasn't just going to stay the same. When you put in subjective thoughts and individual, of the ability for an individual to think, it's going to change. So I'm looking forward to that episode, but I think our culture, our religion is
Yeah.
at its roots have a lot of strong concepts that we've deviated from, and now we label them American or various other labels. So I fully agree with you that I wish people did take some time to understand what the actual definition of these things are, what spirituality means, because quite frankly, we are not that different, or others aren't different from us. Other religious scriptures aren't so different. They're all very much they're very similar.
They're
But
all the
we've
same. It
decided
literally
to,
talks about the same thing, and it's so
right.
funny.
They're all kind of lost right now too. So.
Yes.
It's all
Absolutely.
it's literally been lost in translation. And
Yeah.
the funniest part is we talk about love and acceptance for yourself. That's literally what spirituality is. And I
Mhm.
say that because if you actually look at it, that's literally what it is. And religion, every basis of all the religions in the world, it all boils down to love. It's so funny. It's just again lost in translation with what that means. Simple. It's pretty funny to me, but when you have 8 billion people in the world, that could kind of happen.
Yeah, probably.
Every single religion says the same thing: do not harm anything or anybody. That's
Yeah. All religions are literally the same. The basis of every single religion in the world is love.
that's it.
So we've heard from Prinjal, we've heard from me. Neel, when you hear stuff people said that made it worse, what did it make you think of?
Yeah. I mean, we kind of touched a little bit on it with the grief part, of
Sure.
be strong and all that. I'll go. I have like a couple of things with it. It's just, um, with your story, I kind of bounce off of some of these things, but with your story of the whole family thing, it's funny. Mine was opposite. Like I wasn't as close to my family. Just circumstances and all that.
Sure.
Family stuff that I guess I don't want to get too far into. Obviously, with the keeping it inside family. No, haha. Um, but yeah, it was kind of different for me in that term of like why it's somewhat relatable is that you kind of keep it within the four walls and don't say anything to family, but family over everything. My parents showed me that still, even if we were so far away with that. Um, but which I related to you more in the whole like friends thing. I think friends can
Mhm.
turn into family, and I think that
Mhm.
concept is mind-blowingly different for our parents because I think friendship kind of has gotten bigger as the generations have gone on. Like I don't ever hear my grandparents talking about friendships and things like that, but you see your parents having friends, and that's limited as well. But yeah. But for me, when I think of this topic, it was very hard for me to kind of come to a consensus with what's hard. What you hear is hard because I think there's a lot of things. I'll kind of dive into what our next topic is going to be, and that's expectations and roles. Because
Okay.
I think that we have an inherence in our culture of saying things to each side as an expectation. So what I mean by that is when and sorry, Bridgel, if you've heard this and if it's triggering, I apologize. But girls here a lot of the times they should know how to cook and they should when you gain some weight or whatever, it's called healthy, right? You look healthy, but then what they really mean is, oh, have you gained weight? Have you, put on a few extra pounds, whatever the case may be, right? And it's said in a way that is very, they try and mean it not to be demeaning, but it is very demeaning. In those instances, and we as men hear a lot of the times of, hey, don't cry, hey, move past this, all those things are talked about in a way that is very hard to hear. It is
Mm-hmm.
inherently very hard to hear, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I think a lot of the things that we've touched on today were that it's how can we I'll propose these questions because again I don't have just a one-off thing. It's just things that I've kind of gathered throughout my life of these roles and expectations and what has been said. Those all of those things are really hard to hear regardless. And even coming from myself of like you explained for you, Amit, was giving yourself like a chance to even say something back of that doesn't sound right. That sounds very demeaning,
Right.
or that sounds like, why are you saying that to anybody? Like that you shouldn't say that to anybody, right?
Right.
Those kinds of things. But like where do we go with these things? Do we hold them to an account of, and I say this because we know these things, we understand them a little bit differently, but I think I have a question of where do we go with these? Like, where do we go hearing that stuff? And how do we come from, oh, this is okay or not okay, and moving past it? How do we go to moving past it? It
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
affects us, but how do we go from it affecting us to understanding to moving past it? Propose that question, I guess.
Say, I feel like the answer to your question is going to look different for everybody. Uh,
Absolutely, absolutely.
that's first and foremost. Um, I think that so it's almost like trial and error, is the way I see it. For example, if we're playing out a scenario, we go to this person, here's something we don't like. Maybe we go to that person again 2 or 3 more times, but eventually, I think what we learn is who are the people who actually have my best intentions at heart, who are the people that actually understand me, who are the people that are actually there to listen. Not, I'm a strong believer in that. When we say don't judge, I think it's very, very hard not to.
No, you're human. You're human. You're
You're gonna
automatically.
formulate an opinion
You're,
about something, right?
you're human.
It's
You're
just
gonna
inevitable.
judge, and it's okay.
It's
It's
and
okay.
that's
We're
okay.
not.
I
Yeah.
think that I want to go to the person who, if they judge, they'll either know themselves enough to say,
Right.
"Hey, this is what I'm doing right now. Let me take a step back,"
Right.
or they'll present it to me as a question or a statement, but they'll say to me, "Hey, I'm asking you this because I want to learn more." Right, coming from
Mm.
that place of curiosity. Um, I'll refer back to one of my favorite questions, or excuse me, statements. Be curious, not judgmental. Right. Hashtag shout out Ted Lasso. Um,
Hashtag
and
you as well. That's kind of where I like. I've been having you in my ear with that one since you told me, so I really appreciate you saying that because it's actually kind of deviated me from a lot of those times
yeah,
recently. So
yeah, for sure. It's it allows you by following that sort of approach. It allows you to be judgmental without being a dick. Allows you to be judgmental without hurting someone, because what you're trying to do is understand it better instead of taking the first thing you hear and being like, "Well, why didn't you do this?" or "Why didn't you do that?" or "What made you do this?" And when you're asking follow-up questions, one, it shows the other person that you're listening, which in itself is validating for the person sharing. But it also means that I know what you're thinking. I don't know about anybody else. Like when I'm sharing something and I'm looking at this other person, or potentially just on,
yeah.
like I'm on the phone and they're
Yeah.
not saying much, I'm just like, okay, Um,
You're as a person automatically think they're judging you anyways.
yeah, yeah, exactly,
Right.
right? Because and some of that's gonna go down to like I also truly believe that you think someone is capable of doing something that you yourself would do. So if I'm in that moment, I'm thinking they're judging me. It's because I'm probably judging myself in that moment, or whatever that looks like. So by talking to me, by asking me follow up questions, I know where your head's at. I know you're following along in the story. I feel validated already. Like 50% of that job is done. You're listening, right? I'd argue more than 50%, but let's just go with 50% for the sake of argument. But you're already doing half the job right there. So I think how we move past something a little bit of it is trial and error. Some of it is also just understanding better for yourself that certain people aren't it right for you. That doesn't make that person bad. They just may not be it for you. I know for a fact, like if I'm going to talk about boundaries, um, I don't think my mom's the right person to talk to about boundaries. Not in a bad way, right? It means something completely different to her. Her journey is
Right.
completely different with it. And that is her journey to have. But if I'm going to put up a boundary and say, hey, I don't want to come to this family thing, and for her to then be like, well, you don't care about family, or why don't you want to come, and this, that, and the other, like, that's her journey. And I realize that I can't sit down and maybe have that conversation with her. I can call one of you, have that conversation with y'all. Y'all will understand. You guys will create that space for me. But for our listeners, I think one thing I'd really say is we undervalue listening. We purely undervalue it, in my opinion. Like I kind of said it before, I'm going to say it again. We focus so much on the solution that we undervalue the process, right?
Yeah. Funny thing is really quickly with that listening part.
Yeah,
And
please.
I do some parts of it as very not my best days, right? But a quote I always have in my head with that is God has given us 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason. Just
Do double of the one over the other.
there's a
1000%.
reason why we have 2 ears and 1 mouth, right?
Yeah.
I think the other thing is that I stopped judging people because I made so many mistakes in my own life that I just look at people and I'm like, who am I to judge you for your journey when I know where you're going? And like an example of that is this is kind of going back to what I talked about. Like when I was going through that time period in my life, I was actually going from high school. Like I was in high school, like junior, sophomore year. And a lot of people would ask me questions like, why didn't you go to college right after? Why aren't you in college? And we're Indian and like we know how important education is. And I got that a lot.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
There we
but like
go.
they don't know that during that time I was fighting for my life, like trying to stay alive and not exit early. And
College is kind of the least of your worries
at
in
that
that
point,
moment.
right? Same with my weight and everything like that. Like that was not my worry at that point, but they don't know that, and like they
Right.
aren't gonna have the perception to think about that. So that's why when I talk to other people, I try to be very, very careful, just because I don't know what you're going through. Like a simple question of like, why didn't you go to college, could have a lot more layers for me, so it
Yeah.
can other people as well.
Yeah. I'm gonna pull on that. It's almost like judging the judgers, and I'll explain what that means. I think it's so important to surround yourself with people who, I'm not going to say like the exact same experiences, but who have had experiences in their lives, right? But it's also important to understand the people who haven't. It may not necessarily be their fault that they haven't. Like there's no common ground between you two. And the sooner you figure that out, and the sooner you can understand this is a person you can or cannot talk to about something, the easier it'll be for both of y'all's. But like also giving them that grace, right? Like you're not going to get it. And I think that go ahead, Prinjal.
Well, I was just saying I hope you don't ever get it, but you don't, and that's okay.
Yeah, absolutely, and definitely in certain, especially some of those situations, not all, we wouldn't wish that upon someone else. But frankly, it's also okay that they haven't gone through it, and giving them the grace for that. I think I still do it. I know for a fact I still do it. but I catch myself, and I think to myself, like, y'all don't get it. Like, you got both your parents. You clearly had a very easy, or not easy. You've had an easier life. You haven't had to fight and claw for all these things, but that's me judging, and I have to stop myself, right? Because it's not their fault that they haven't had to go through that. Quite frankly, I'm happy that they don't. Because, like you said, Prinjal, I wouldn't wish that upon someone. And I think it's so important to surround yourself with people who can speak to some of those life experiences, or at least, at the very least, that they've been
Understand
through
them.
something,
Yeah.
so they can understand you.
Even if they haven't been through it, at least understand them, right?
Yeah.
At least have. It's funny I'm saying this, but at least have compassion and empathy for them, right? Like, I think that's big, because you don't always have to be in a person's shoes or have gone through those experiences, but you do have to have compassion and empathy, right? I think that's kind of big. So,
I think you just got to
um,
remember you're human, like you.
right, exactly, absolutely. That's kind of the basis of it all. Is we all bleed the same. We're not any different at the end of the day. Um, the other part I want to talk about really, uh, or present, is because, again, I'm just jumbled in the whole concept of like what my own experiences. I've had a bunch of them, but I can't just narrow it down, and I don't really want to. But I do want to ask this: what is something today that we do, or that you guys think that we say, that is the same effect, that isn't good, or we can change, or kind of bring awareness to ourselves? What is this something like, that we kind of come up with, that we're saying like, well, we do this and it's probably not the best, you know?
Hmm.
Because I think you brought up something actually very good, and that is Amit, then that is basically that we don't listen. We kind of think that we know, so we just kind of inherently go into, well, we know this, so we're going to tell you, and we're going to, so that could be
Yeah.
detrimental, right? That's not a good thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
I catch myself doing that. That's why I say that for me. You've had to explain that to me, of like, go in not knowing, which I hold a lot of weight to now. Is I don't know, and not that I didn't know that then, but a good, always having a good remembrance or a reminder of that, is it's really nice of understanding to yourself that you don't always know. To be quite honest, you don't know jack shit anyways. Like, I don't know a lot of things, and that's okay.
Yeah.
You're here to learn, and you're here to kind of, um, come at it in that lens. So just saying that, or like, I know, blah blah blah. Why is, in your case, Kinjal or Prinjal? I mean, it's, well, why? It, go asking that question is basically saying like, what to do. It's like, no, bullshit, you don't, right? So
Right.
it kind of the same thing. So
I
what do you
mean,
guys
I'm
think
just
that
gonna
we do, our generation does?
what we could do better, or what we do already.
What we do, and what, like, bringing awareness to that, and what we could do better.
Hmm. I'm gonna go back to what I already said, because I don't think that we do it enough. Being curious and not judgmental. I think that it does not matter. This statement transcends generations, in my opinion. I think our generation is starting to become more open to it, but I don't think we truly realize how simple judgment can look. Right? Brinjal brought that question earlier. When people asked her, "Why didn't you leave?" That sounds like such a simple question, right? There's no quote unquote negative connotation in the undertone. There's no negative words, quote unquote. But when you're going through that and you're being asked that, you know exactly how that hits. And that's why I think that it's so important to understand how easy it is to judge someone in a very simple question. And sometimes it's not easy to catch yourself. Like, you're not doing it with maybe malicious intention. Maybe you are doing it to truly ask, just out of curiosity. But I think if you take a step back, try to empathize more. And I think our generation is also getting better about empathizing over the previous generation. So between those two, between being curious and being empathetic, I think that that can go a long way, honestly, for most people. Because I think back to some of those experiences of people just, I'm going to add in a third thing. Sorry. It just like shot across my brain as I was talking.
Good. That great. That's what I hope for.
I struggle with this. I struggle
Yeah,
with
we're gonna be
this.
here for another like 4 hours.
Probably.
Just kidding.
Um,
Which is okay.
It's good.
yes and no. I struggle with this a lot. I'm not the best at, I think I've gotten better. I'm not the best at just willingly giving out information. I wear my heart on my sleeve, and if anyone were to ask me a question, I'd answer it. And I'd probably answer it like way more than what you expected me to. But I'm not the person who's going to tap you on the shoulder and be like, hey, blah, 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 blah. And I do that with
Wait,
the people I'm closest to.
do you think that's a bad thing?
That I do that?
That you don't that you're not willing to just give out information or advice
I
or
wouldn't
whatever.
call it a bad thing. I think what I did for a long time, I'll give you an example, okay? Um, I went through something, and Prinjal, you and Neil both actually know about this. I went through something with my previous relationship and did things did things I shouldn't have. However, after I didn't, after it became common knowledge that this had happened, I stopped talking about it. I stopped letting people closest to me in about it. And I think people found out later on, because nobody at that point asked me why. Everybody was just like, fuck you, you're a terrible person, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Rightfully so. Deserved it, 100%. No doubt. But no one asked me why. Like, why did I do what I did? How did that go down? What led to that? Right. And I never divulged the information. And I think as people now are starting to ask those questions, and I'm answering that question, they're just like, why the fuck didn't you tell me before? Because not that it like immediately exonerates me or exonerates those actions that I did or justifies them, but it provides more context to it. And it allows people to see more than just the error, right? Allows them to see me, the person, over the error that I made. And I think that's something that like I realized in that moment, like, I don't divulge information unless someone asks. Like if you care enough to ask me, hey, what happened? Why'd you do it? What went down? That tells me that you care enough to actually hear that answer and to know the difference. If you didn't ask me a question, it means you don't care enough. And that's not always the case. Sometimes people don't know to ask, or sometimes people don't know how to ask. So I think it's okay to be in a position where you feel like you do need to tap someone on the shoulder and be like, hey, like, hear me out for a second. So being curious, being empathetic, and to a certain degree, being okay with being vulnerable. I think these three things would go a long way.
I'd add on trust because that just shot in my brain.
Mm.
I think a lot of that has to do with where we are now, uh, not only in our culture, but I think in society in general, is that we like there's a double edged sword to this of like just fully trusting people. I get that, but in essence, if I've been a really big believer in trust is not an earned thing; it's already given to you. You're a human. I don't think anyone like unless someone takes the trust and does something with you, that's how it's broken. It's never just like
Mm.
someone has to earn that trust. I'm a very big believer in that because we're human. We're inherently born with certain things, and I think that's one of them, right? Um,
Mm-hmm.
so I think in our especially in our culture, but uh, it's always kind of the I don't want to say paranoia or delusion or whatever, but it is that like we don't inherently just trust people until they show us that they can't be trusted. In which case that kind of blends in with the whole what you were saying, like automatically, if we choose to allow ourselves to be empathetic and all that stuff and show up in a certain way with people, I think inherently you trust people in general, where that basis isn't just based off of just judgmental or they're coming at me in this way and why, and the defensiveness and all those things kind of dissolve themselves away. Again, that's just based off of people showing. Again, it's inherently invited to everyone. They show up with that, and it's not an earned thing. Again, that's just my belief, because people show you.
I think you're thinking of it very positively, and I love that.
No, yeah, I know,
we do
but
need
that's
more of that.
yeah,
Definitely need more of that.
That's kind of just what one of the things that I would say in this
add to the list. Yeah, I get it.
yeah,
Prinjal, you were
in
saying
this
something?
time.
I was just gonna say that, Neel, I've never heard of that perspective, like ever. That you don't have to earn somebody's, like, nobody has to earn your trust. And now that I think about it, you're absolutely right. And I don't know why that was ever a saying and why I ever thought somebody had to earn my trust. You're right, they're human. And until they show me that they're not, I can trust them. Like, it's a kind of like guilty until proven innocent, kind of like innocent until proven guilty thing.
Yeah.
And I just never thought of it in that perspective. And thank you for sharing, because I feel like you just kind of blew my mind there.
I appreciate that. I mean,
Like I always say,
I don't know.
Neil's got the gold nuggets.
No, I don't know. I mean, to each their own on that one, but yeah, it's just one of those things I've always thought about. We always say trust is earned, not given, but we also say you break my trust. Well, you can't have it both ways, and that's just kind of how I looked at it. And I don't know. One day, to be quite honest, it was with my relationship with RJ, and I had it was like 3-4 months in, and I'm sitting there going like, why am I having to earn your trust? Like, and it's just one of those things for me. I'm like, I just trust people until you show me otherwise. Once you do, it's not that it's inherently gone. It's not that it's broken just because 1-2 occasions. It's like, you got to show me that you're not there. Essentially, you're there to break that, and then I'm just like, I know where you stand, and I'm okay with, keeping at arm's length from that. But yeah, thanks for saying that.
I think that's
I don't take compliments very well, Prinjal. You'll know this about me. I don't know if you've heard the other shows, but I don't take compliments very well. So, but I will say appreciate that.
Instead, we've learned to say "fuck you, Neel," and I think that's a great way to end our episode. We'll leave you with "fuck you, Neel." Unless Prinjal, Neel, do you have anything more you want to add to that?
Nope, I'm running out of daylight.
All right. No, yeah. So will our listeners, depending on what time they start. Thank you all for listening. If you did listen to this, Neel touched on this earlier, that our next episode talks through expectations. So we almost touched on that a little bit today, in fact. But I think we're going to look at the other side of this. We talked today about great segue. In fact, we talked today a lot about what our feelings were and what happened to those feelings, where I think expectations almost touches on why those feelings were there in the first place. Why did I feel like I had to show up a certain way for family? Why did I feel like this or that? So expectation is going to be episode 6, officially 7 if we're counting it the other way around. Prinjal, thank you so much for joining.
Yeah,
it was really nice to hear from you and talk to you. For sure.
Thank you so much for having me. I was really nervous beforehand, but I don't know why, because this was really fun actually, and I learned a lot.
I'm glad that what it sounds like is we got ourselves another guest for another episode. That's what that sounds like.
I would love to. You guys have been amazing.
Absolutely.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys, and we'll tune in next time for Baap.
Peace.